Welcome to Message Monday. Christian men, Christian walk, Christian talk with your hosts, Tony Briscoe and Gary Dotson. We discuss faith, marriage, family, parenting, politics, and mental health, world news, and most of all, faith again. Let's go. Welcome to Message Monday. My brother, what's happening? What's happening?
My man, how you feeling on this beautiful Monday?
Man, bro, I'm tired, but I can feel being tired, so that means I'm still alive.
Yes, sir. You took the words right out of my mouth.
I can feel it, man. I can feel it. Nothing is uncommon to man, bro.
That's so forget the pity party. You are not alone.
You know, man, it's but it's cool, man. It's Monday, it's Message Monday time, man. So you know how we do and how we get it in, bro. Talking to the people, definitely miss talking to the people out there. Grateful to have on a couple of weeks ago. I had on Eddie and his wife. They were on, so I invited him to come on tonight if he's available, because he's a veteran, a retired veteran. So just wanted to get his perspective on 9/11 as well. And it's weird because I'm looking at a cable that I have, and it has a Wounded Warrior on it. Little sticker that says Wounded Warriors, man. So, you know, one thing about the military, bro, any base you go to where there's a mess hall, you'll always see a section that's empty for the prisoners of war or those who were missing in action, who were never recovered.
I didn't know that.
Every military base, every mess hall, you will see that as a tribute to them. So it's always good just to acknowledge our veteran community, man, our veteran community. So appreciate that. So, Father, in Jesus' name, thank you for bringing us back for another day of Message Monday, Christian men, Christian walk, Christian talk. Bless us, bless our audience who may tune in, and may they catch the broadcast later. We give you thanks in Yeshua's name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Right. What's going on in your world, bro? What's happening? What's happening? I'm gonna do some stuff in the background here and get some sharing going on. So go ahead, man. Talk about your world. What's going on? What's happening? How your school year is kicked off? And we'll be in there, man.
Man, listen, we're a month into school. It's going great. The kids, they actually want to be there. We're having a lot of successes, early year successes, a lot of challenges. The students that I have that are my 8th graders currently, they are the first group of students that experienced, they bore the brunt of what we went through with the COVID lockdowns. So they've seen a lot of inconsistency. They've seen a lot of transition and so this is the end result of years of, teachers trying to fill in the gaps, trying to meet deficiencies, trying to get them prepared for high school. So big shout out to the 7th grade teachers that prepared them for us. They know who they are if they're watching, if they ever get to see this. I'm so appreciative of all the work that you did. But the year's going great. And on this typical Monday, man, I literally ran in the house after picking up Alana with like 6 minutes left, set everything up, and here I am. But I was not missing Message Monday. Not missing Message Monday today. So I hope everybody out there is doing well. I hope everybody out there, whatever burdens that you're carrying, you can bear them in Jesus' name. And like my brother said, nothing has hit us that is uncommon to man.
Yeah, nothing has hit us that is uncommon to man.
That's
so
right.
We're just doing a general check-in tonight, fam, and we're going to talk about, of course, today is 9/11.
Yes.
9/11 happened 22 years ago. We know about the terrorist attacks, and so we'll talk about that. But a check-in for me, doing good, man. Empty nester, Baby girls, we at school. I miss my baby a lot.
I like the way you just
Yeah,
yeah, empty nester, just
yes,
yeah, like
I miss my baby, man.
yeah.
But I'm happy for her. A lot of our young people are away,
How's
and
she doing?
she's doing really good. She's
That's
doing really
good.
good. She's learning some lessons, and I'm getting like I'm not there. Decisions. Everything boils down to decisions and choices. So nothing like nothing.
Right, right, right.
But it's still this. Small decisions can have big repercussions, man. So she's learning to adjust. Still a little secretive with some things, but she's 18 now, so ain't nothing I can do about that. Like she can,
Oh man, there's certain things you taking to your grave, so
yeah.
don't.
So yeah, hands down. But she's doing well, man. I'm looking forward to her continued success, man. She's spending a lot of time in the library, so really excited about that, man. But
That's
she's doing
good.
good. Other than that, still in the books, still studying. Grateful to be able to support, a part of church ministry that's taking place on Thursday nights, just to be there to support and
Yes, sir.
the technical hand if anything comes up, man. So just being available. I have spent the last 24 months burying myself in technology. And I was like, it's time for me to really, not that technology is not important, but don't forget who put technology here to make it important as well.
That's right.
So, I feel like, giving things back to the Lord, recentering my focus, and really remembering, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all of its righteousness, and all of these other things shall be added unto you. And it's just a reminder to do that and to stay in that phase continually as a lifestyle, not as a moment, but as a lifestyle. Never
That's
too
right.
old to understand that lesson or its impact, man. So, hey, bro, let's get into this discussion, man. So, we're gonna be talking about two things tonight, fam. So we may end early, we may go till the hour. You know how this hour just breezes by. We're
Sure
going to talk
does.
about two things. The first thing we're going to talk about is 9/11. And the second thing we're going to talk about marriage. Is it really 50-50?
I'm really excited about
I
that.
know that's going to be an interesting one for sure. But 9/11, man, I'll say this. I remember the morning of 9/11. I had to be at work early. I woke up and, being Christians, there are times where the Lord allows us access into the spirit realm
Yes, sir.
in a deeper meaning. And I woke up that morning, it was early, and it was dark outside, but I saw beyond that. I felt darkness in the atmosphere.
Wow.
To a point, I kissed my wife goodbye that morning. I said, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on. There's something in the atmosphere. If you don't see me again, I want you to know I love you.
Yes, sir.
We'd only been married since March of 2001. So, March to September, that ain't a long time to be talking about goodbye,
Right, right, right.
But I got to work, and that's when
Yeah.
the first tower hit. The wife had a flight that day. She was a flight attendant. So I called her and I said, babe, wake up and turn the TV on. She was like, dude, I got a flight. I'm sleepy. I was like, babe, get up and turn the TV on. When she turned the TV on, the second plane was going into the second tower. And she was like, what is this? I said,
it was like a movie.
We are under attack. My buddy said he thought it was a spinoff of Independence Day. He was like, I'm thinking it's Independence Day, another Independence Day 2 or whatever. And now let me tell you the crazy part, Gary. A week before this, we were in Boston. That's where one of the planes came from. Before we went to Boston, I was having a conversation with one of my colleagues in the lunchroom. I'll never forget. His name is Jorge Verduzco. That was my dude. We kind of saw things differently.
Yeah,
but we were kind of the same, right? We were not fans of Bill Clinton. We felt our military defense strategy weakened under him. We talk about these things like once a week. We had lunch together almost once a week, when we could, to sit down and talk shop, politics, Republicans, Democrats. We talked about everything, right? Because neither one of us were necessarily glued. At the time, he was way more conservative than I was, though, at the time. But neither one of us had a great admiration for Bill Clinton at all. It was all around military defenses and strategy. All right. And that's for what we knew. Like we don't, we're not the president. We're not Bill Clinton. We not, we don't know what they see or what they're looking at when they make these decisions. But on the outside looking in and doing some research and reading, we just saw things like different.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
The week before 9/11, Jorge and I had a conversation about how this company would deal with an immediate terrorist attack. And we both said we would not be able to recover from it for a while because we would not know where it's coming from. And we both said eventually it lead to a rash decision in the Middle East. This is the conversation we had the week before 9/11, bro.
Those words were prophetic.
Bro, so in the office, everything is going down. The internet's at a slow crawl. People are leaving their corporate buildings like crazy. We actually found out years later.
Even in Chicago, people were leaving high rises. Because it was rumored that Chicago was a secondary target.
I actually, from understanding, the building that we work in was one of those targets.
See?
A secondary target.
See?
Which made me wonder what y'all doing in this building where this is even. Hey, I want to know what was happening inside of this building.
Yeah.
So in the office, I'm walking to go see George. At the same time, George is walking to come see me. So when we see each other, we just look,
read each other's minds,
and we turned the other way and went back to our desk because we just had.
You were just talking about it
a week before,
right?
About how the United States would not be able to see what was coming with the next terrorist attack, bro. And so 9/11 for me was the day after 9/11. Then I'll let you speak, Gary. I don't know what newspaper had the cover, but they had a cover of everybody covered in ash. And you couldn't tell what color anybody was. And it was one of the most powerful images.
Because their color didn't matter.
Because color did not matter. We lost some of every religion.
Yeah.
We lost some of every race.
You name the demographic.
You name the demographic. It was lost that day.
Yeah.
We lost police officers. We lost firefighters. And then you saw this symbol. Maybe this will drive us to be one. 9/11, man. Where were you?
Your last comment, for a minute, it did drive us to be one.
Yeah.
For a few, I don't know, maybe a few months. They were just Americans.
2003. Things started to change in October of 2003.
Briefly, I was living in Milwaukee at the time.
Okay.
And I didn't sense anything out of the ordinary on that day. It was a typical start of the day. We were in our morning staff meeting at Malcolm X Academy. And we're in there and, just getting ready to start the day and da-da-da. And it was a co-worker of mine. His name was Mr. Yost. Mm-hmm. And he came in. He was a veteran. He came in. He said, a plane and he had a television in his room. And that's a big deal because at that time.
Yeah, bro.
Right. He had a television in his room.
Yeah.
So he came in and he said a plane just hit one of the towers in New York, one of the World Trade Center towers. And we were like, wow. And like most people's reaction, we were like, wow, this is an awful accident. I wonder what the extent of the damage, how many lives, that's where our minds were. That's where my mind was. And I don't know, 8, 9, 10 minutes later, something like that, he came back and he said, another plane hit the other tower. And that's when we knew. I think that's when every American knew that this was not an accident. So
in the Pentagon.
Right. The Pentagon
Yep.
and later on Shanksville
Yes.
and our principal had called us back in, and there's a list of protocols that every school has whenever there's some national disturbance or national emergency. So he implemented the protocols, and we didn't know if we were going to be going home that day.
Yeah.
So the protocol is, when you're in education, you keep all the children there. The parents will have to come get them, regardless of if children take the bus, if they walk. All of that is out of the window, and we were supposed to stay there until all of our children were picked up by their parent or guardian. So we didn't know. So long story short, I ran home. At the end of the day, everything went on without incident, and I was a huge Fox News watcher at that time.
Yep. Same here.
I ran in the house, flicked on Fox News. And you saw it, everybody saw it, the smoke coming out of the ground.
Yeah, bro.
Because at school, we were instructed, and this is a protocol. You don't talk about it. You don't let the students know what happened. You don't incite a panic. Nothing. This is an ordinary day as far as the students know it. So we're carrying all this in our minds, trying to, because then we were thinking about, are they going to hit what they call soft targets? Are they going to go into malls? Are they going to go into schools? Are they going to go into government buildings? Are they going to go into hospitals? So everybody's on edge.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw the smoke billowing out of the heart of Manhattan.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was like a movie.
It was.
I could not believe what I was looking at. And I'll end with this. The nation changed. The world changed that day.
Yeah.
And it's never going back to pre 9/11. And I'll end by just saying that my views, and I mean this with as much respect for the real Americans that lost their lives on that day. My personal view, I don't hold to the general narrative as to the who and the why.
Right.
But we both agree that we're talking over 3,000 Americans for whatever reason.
Yeah,
lost their lives on that day.
Yeah, that number's always been estimated under 3,000, and I'm not sure why, but I'm banking 2,977, I think, was the final count that came back. But we know countless firefighters have died from lung disease and other issues that came up, police officers.
Yeah, EMTs,
absolutely right. A world of problems. And that was my initial thoughts as well, Gary, when you talk about, is this the beginning? Because
right.
I mean, everybody was leaving their jobs downtown, and I'm like, you gonna leave your building to go hop on a train? Well, yeah, the building is probably the safest place to be in right now, because again, we don't know what's happening. I don't know if somebody.
Yeah, you had no idea. Nobody knew.
Nobody knew what was coming on 9/11, right? And so you didn't know if somebody was going to be outside with an assault rifle, waiting people around. You just didn't know. And so I was like, they were like, well, you can go home if you want. You'll get paid for the day. And I was like, no, I'm staying right here because the trains are going to be so packed. It makes no sense for me to try to run up out of here. But that was some of the thoughts on 9/11. I was on a plane to Italy with the Navy that week. The Italians treated us like royalty. I didn't pay for food anywhere I went in Italy.
Wow.
For those 2 weeks. When I got back, I was already scheduled to go there anyway. So it wasn't like I was called up for this reason. Military was on very high alert.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because the first instinct is, if they hit us here, if you can hit the United States here, in the United States,
you can hit us anywhere.
You can hit us anywhere. Right? I'm in Naples, Joint Air Force Base is, a little further away, but we just didn't know. And I remember coming back home in October, my commander had everybody sit down. He said, hey, if you miss Kosovo and you miss Desert Storm and you didn't get recalled as a reservist, I guarantee you're going to be out of here. January 29th, I get to work early because I've got to move an entire data center, 2002.
Wow.
I get to work early. I'm at work 15 minutes.
You got the call.
Tony, phone's for you. I said, all right, just put it in my office. I go to my office.
Yeah.
And I saw the caller ID. And I was like, it's my reserve center. Petty Officer Briscoe, you are being recalled under a presidential recall for Operation, I think it was Noble Eagle and Enduring Freedom. You are report to your reserve center immediately. No problem. Call Larita, get my sea bag ready. I'm taking the train home. We got to go to Forest Park. I'm being recalled. You know, she wasn't feeling that. We hadn't been married a year yet, bro. You know, the Bible says that a man not supposed to go to war before a year until he married for a full year. So, you know, she wasn't having it at all.
Amen. And that's the book.
That's the book, bro. She was like, that's what the word says.
Israelite soldiers were allowed to go home and be with their wives.
Yeah. And so literally I let my boss know. I said, hey, you know, I've been recalled. He's a Navy guy. So he was like, hey man, go keep your head tight. Do what you told to do. Get your behind back home.
Yeah.
He's like, where are you going? I was like, I don't know yet. Went home, grabbed my sea bag, went straight to my reserve center. Hey, Briscoe, what are you doing here? Dude, you just called me. Oh, man, ain't nobody showed up as fast as you.
Oh, man.
Nobody. They were like, we've got to get you uniforms. We've got to get you boots. I said, no, you don't. My sea bag is already packed, bro. I live ready.
Loaded.
I live ready, bro. America called me. I'm coming. It's my country.
That's right.
Flaws and all, it's my country.
Flaws and all.
So they was like, look, we need to give you a few days. Just get a few days, get your ducks, get your things in order. You know, come back. So I went back on the weekend. But 9/11 for me, man, I remember coming home. Like Larita held me, dude. I think I cried for like an hour, bro. Because I'm not a combat veteran. But I knew what was coming for my fellow armed forces members. I knew what was coming. I knew what we were going to do in Afghanistan.
Yes, sir.
George and I had already talked about the firm hand of Afghanistan when it came to order. Not that it lined up with our views and our values. It's a cultural piece.
Sure.
It's cultural.
Very
piece.
Cultural. Very
we
cultural.
Understand the subjugation of women and we understand all of that. Things started getting a little slippery when it came to Iraq. I don't even want to go into Iraq today, but I was that 9/11, man. 9/11 changed my life personally forever.
You know something? When you talk about changes, I think that day, change is probably for people like me. I can't speak for the people whose lives were immediately affected. So I won't dare to be that presumptuous.
Yeah.
That day means so many other superlatives and adjectives. But for me, that day meant a profound sea change. It changed legislatively, it changed politically, it changed militarily, it changed geopolitically. It changed how the government surveils its own people. It changed how the government surveils its own allies.
Yeah.
It changed how the government treats, presumed allies. It changed everything. And I'll just say this. For me, after the dust cleared, it changed how I viewed my own government. Shortly after that, and I'll just say this, and because I think your perspective carries much more weight.
No, I think equal weight. I'm not going into the other stuff.
But
I
think yours carries much more weight.
Yeah, appreciate that.
But it really made me question because I was, man, I was a patriot, and I still am.
Yeah,
I still am, but I was a different kind of patriot then. You talking about one? I was this close from the Marine Corps. I just knew I was gonna be a Marine.
we wanted you, brother. We wanted you. But God, forget it.
Exactly. But I'll just say this. Later on that same day, after the dust cleared, 2 words changed that forever for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to be conspiratorial, but Tower 7. Tower 7 fell at about 5 p.m. And in the moment, we were told that a fire had broken out, on one of the lower levels. And somewhere around 5 p.m., the building just collapsed into its own footprint.
I know, bro.
In the moment, everyone was just so... Nobody was processing anything. I wasn't processing anything.
Yeah.
But when the dust cleared, I said, wait a minute. Something's not right. Real people lost their lives. The hijackers were Saudis, but here we are in Afghanistan.
With Saudi here in the United States.
And it made me ask this question, well, who benefits from something like this? And the Patriot Act. You're in Afghanistan for 20 years. You pretty much destabilized the entire Middle East to the point where we are still feeling the effects to this day.
Yeah.
And it just made me... It made me just look at my government and say, President Kennedy was right. I mean, President Eisenhower was right. Beware the military-industrial complex. That's where I am with that.
Yeah. And I'm not going to... I want to keep the sanctity of the memory for me.
Yes, sir.
A lot of questions. Still around, and there are people who we don't know and will never know who are gone for whatever reason, right? But that day changed me, and I think it changed our country.
It did.
And I believe, as a military man and as an American citizen, I believe our country is lost this way.
I concur.
And I think that's the danger. I remember, the biggest piece, 9/11 was on a Tuesday. You remember? Oh, you weren't in Chicago. Let me tell you, bruh.
What's happening?
So Bible class on the 9/12. No, 9/11.
If it was on a Tuesday, 9/12, yeah.
I want you to imagine the Dorchester Sanctuary.
Oh, I know it was full.
On an average Bible class night now.
During those years, I know it was full. No?
But on 9/12?
That's what I mean, on that Wednesday.
On that Wednesday. You couldn't find a seat on the first floor or the balcony.
America went to church after 9/11.
America went to church after 9/11. But you know what, Gary? Within 3 weeks, back to normal. And I said, wow. It's interesting how that when tragedy strikes, we want to get our lives right. And I'm not judging, I'm just making an observation.
Absolutely.
You can put me in the category of them people until tragedy strikes too, for that matter.
You and me both.
You know what I'm saying? But
it's human nature.
But Bishop said it would happen. He said, yeah, it's you fearful now because you don't know. You don't know if this is the end of the world or not, what's coming. You don't know. But when you talk about how man begins to wax back to their old ways naturally, and it was a sight to see. See, for those of us who were living this,
Yeah.
we lived this walk.
Yeah.
You know, I had a meeting with Bishop set up, and I had to catch him at church. I said, Bishop, I can't meet. I'm being recalled. He said, well, where are you going? I'm like, I'll be going to California, to San Diego, to train with the Marines, and then I'll be going off to Kuwait. And he was like, well, how's your wife doing? I said, well, she's a flight attendant. Oh, she can fly and see you. You'll be okay. But he stopped at the door, walking in with his hat and his coat still on, grabbed my hands and prayed with me, bro.
He was that kind of minister.
I never forget it.
He was that kind of minister.
As long as I live, I'll never forget it.
He was that kind of minister. He understood the gravity of every moment.
Yeah, there was a few of us. I think there were two of us who got recalled. Another brother, Liddell. Liddell's doing great. Yeah, he works for one of the construction companies that we're aware of.
Liddell Smith?
Bonds. I don't think you know him.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, he, Bishop prayed with him as well. I think he may have done 2 tours in Afghanistan.
Man.
But in 9/11, it changed me, man. But I saw a united country, and then I watched my colleague, who is Muslim, began to be discriminated against.
There was a huge spike in that. And it lasted for a good while. It lasted a long time because, especially on Fox News and even CNN and NBC and ABC, even them, Fox News wasn't the only one.
Yeah,
you had like this, but the cable news stations were notorious for it. You had this 24-hour, 365.
It was propaganda.
Hatchet job.
It was
propaganda
against Islam.
And Muslim Americans who were just as patriotic as Japanese Americans in the 40s.
Yeah.
Absolutely. As patriotic as even some Germans who had immigrated here.
Yeah.
As patriotic as they were, these Muslim Americans who fled some of these countries, they were just as patriotic, if not more. And they caught you know what. Yeah. And it was totally unfair.
It was unfair, but I also said to my colleague, because I would like she was scared to go out for lunch by herself, bro.
Yeah.
Right? Like she was terrified to go out to lunch because she wore her hijab. So, you go, that's instant identification.
Instant
identification, right? And so I said to her, I said, what you're feeling, my people have been feeling for 400 plus years. And if I count the time before we got to American soil, we've been feeling it for at least 500. I said, but it doesn't become national attention for you until you start experiencing discrimination that we live with every day. And we saw the exact same thing happen when COVID came out. We saw a lot of people discriminating against the Asian community, and they didn't know what part of Asia these folks were from.
Right.
They were just discriminating against the entire Asian community.
Right. Assuming that all Asians were Chinese.
Are Chinese, have COVID. Yeah, it's just the ignorance of the country just continues to show, right? But I said to one of my colleagues, I said, hey, no disrespect by this. Welcome to our world.
Yep.
You're
a brother now.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, you got better attention because they passed a law within 365 days. There was a law for discrimination against Asians, and we still hadn't even had an anti-lynching bill in this country yet. I said, so even though Asians are being attacked, you still consider better than we are in America.
it got scary for Muslim Americans. It got scary, and not and I shouldn't say Muslim Americans. It got scary for Americans that, based on their physical features,
Mhm.
could be clearly identified as possibly originating from that part of the world. Because
Absolutely.
you got African Muslims, you got uh, Asian Muslims, and Asia is a huge continent.
A
It's not
massive
just
continent.
China. You got Russia, you got China, you got India, you got Afghanistan, you got Georgia, Turkmenistan. You got all these countries.
Yes.
But if you could racially be identified as coming from the Middle East, oh man, you had a target on your
You
back.
got a target on your back.
People were whispering.
Yeah.
People were watching
Watching,
you. People were
watching.
ready to report. People
Yeah.
were oh, he's taking pictures of, well, maybe he likes taking pictures of the scenery. I remember when people, because that was a big thing. You had people that were taking pictures, and this whole thing got started up, and people were suspicious of anybody that didn't look like a traditional American,
Yes.
a homegrown American
Homegrown,
taking
whatever
pictures.
that is,
Right.
because
If
homegrown
they
Americans are
right,
all half European already.
right. If they were taking pictures of bodies of water, because if you remember Anthrax, the Tom Daschle and
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I want to say it was two congressmen. I know Tom Daschle was one of them, but they received the anthrax letters in the mail, and they were saying, oh, they're gonna put anthrax in the water supply and this, that, and the other. Come, listen,
The propaganda
stop it.
fear sells, man. And this is when you have to look at the whole system. When you
Yes.
say who benefits from this,
Mm-hmm.
who benefited from COVID?
Mm-hmm.
Who benefits? Those are things to think about. But for 9/11,
Don't get me started.
yeah, for 9/11, for the families
Yeah.
who lost loved ones,
Yeah.
there are no words. Um,
You don't get over that either.
you don't get over that. For the long lasting impact of the soldiers who've come back home who still have PTSD,
Yeah.
who came back home maimed. I'm not going to get into Iraq right now because we sent our troops into
A quagmire.
with no equipment. Um, but to the families who've endured from 9/11, just much love from
That's
Message
right.
Mondays.
That's right.
Very special day to me. I hope my country dear to my heart always. I'm looking at my American flag and my Navy picture that sits right over it right now because, again, America, flaws and all, I bleed the red, white, and blue. You know what's interesting, Gary? I'll land with this. We're both in school, so this is ideal. I see young lady I'm associated with. She put a post up that she got a call today from her child's school because they didn't stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And I went to a buddy's graduation Saturday in Wake Forest, in Waukegan, and there was just some people when they were like, "Hey, stand for the national anthem," and there were some people that didn't stand.
Right.
I'm a military man, and I found out, like, since reading the entire Pledge of Allegiance and learning the certain parts that were in the Pledge of Allegiance, I was just like, yeah, I'm not bothering these people, but I choose to be patriotic because that's what's in me.
Every morning in our daily announcements, we begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Still?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
My school has been very, very patriotic ever since I've been there. I've been there,
Wow.
been at this school now for, oh man, 11, 12 years, 11, 12 years.
Yeah.
But we start the day out, Pledge of Allegiance. And to your point, I understand how complicated it can be. I understand that, especially with this new generation.
Yes.
The further and further we move away from these landmarks in history
Yes.
and from history itself, things like the Pledge of Allegiance and the Star Spangled Banner, things like that, they lose more and more and more of its meaning.
Yeah.
because the historical connection is continuously being weakened. But no matter what, every morning I stand tall at attention, the son of a veteran, and my oldest son, a veteran.
Yes, sir.
Hand over the heart, whether or not you want. And as a teacher, I can't force anybody to, because we do have Jehovah's Witnesses, we do have Muslims from West Africa. I mean, we have all kinds of people, so I can't force it. But by my example, and the students they usually follow, I stand for it. Me and my wife, we were at Alana's game last week, and before every game, Star Spangled Banner, we stand. And we see that there are people that don't stand, and like you said, to your point,
yeah, it's I don't get bothered over it. I think most people do it out of their own personal feelings about the Pledge of Allegiance, about its historical context, about the words in it. Yeah. I think, being a Christian, I think we can't, in the same vein, say what the enemy meant for bad, God will turn around for our good, and then take something that's been made, good, and then criticize it. That's just me.
You're free to not stand.
You're free to not stand. I don't think anybody should be. I have not watched the documentary on who's the Muslim basketball player. Probably one of the
Mahmoud Abdul Rauf.
Abdul. There's the say his name again.
Mahmoud Abdul Rauf used to be Chris Jackson.
Yes. And so, just to think how he was treated during his time, him being blackballed. You talk about Craig Hodges being blackballed just for against things, right? So
you think about Kareem during his time.
Yeah. And so you think about these things, man, and it's enough to make you just really, really fall back. But I don't knock anybody who does it. Stand. It's your business. It's your business, and I don't consider you less of a patriot. You're still paying taxes, so they can say whatever they want to say.
Because you got some veterans, combat veterans, they have turned their backs completely on everything that they swore to uphold.
Well, Gary, let's not get into that, brother, because
they out there.
Because I put a post up. I said a president can do one term, 4 years, and he is set for the rest of his life.
Absolutely.
But you got my brother Eddie, who's retired after 20-something years, and he still got to go out. Eddie probably got some nice finances because he's a smart dude, but I'm just saying, in general, the average veteran has to go and get another full-time job to sustain.
Our grandfather had to do that. Retired veteran, Navy. Got a job at the post office.
Come on, bruh. It's like our veterans at the bottom of the food chain when it comes to treatment, man. Matter of fact, this is what this administration right now, the administration right now, whatever they're doing to support Ukraine, they're talking about using tank piercing bullets, right? We already know it. I heard the news say it, that, it's not going to harm anybody. You use depleted uranium in armor-piercing bullets. It's depleted uranium. Ask how many soldiers came back with no hair on their bodies from Kosovo. What are we doing, bro? What are we doing?
There's a saying, Tone. Young men fight the wars of old rich men.
I remember that.
Young men fight the wars of old rich men.
And that's problematic, man. And, the outbreak of soldiers who came back from Desert Storm whose kids were born with spinal bifida.
Soldiers coming back with black lung disease. Yeah.
I mean, but we treat our veterans, man, like they don't deserve anything.
They're fodder, and that's not me. I highly regard our veterans. I don't care if you never fired your gun at any time.
That's right.
But that's how, and that's one of the changes that 9/11 had on me, because I looked at how so many young men and women were just thrown into the meat grinder
That's it, bro. That's it. Into
with
the
no the thing that stuck in my craw eventually is that there was no end in sight, to the point where we're just coming out of Afghanistan this year.
ladies and gentlemen, we got him. We got him. It was just the beginning.
Come on, man.
Yeah. So shout out to all my soldiers, all
Yes,
my
sir.
veterans who were out there. Semper Fidelis to the core, to the slept on National Guard who lost so many members
Yes, sir.
in the war, to the Coast Guard, the Air Force, the Army, and the work that FBI agents had to do on the ground as well.
Yes, sir. Firefighters, police, EMTs, paramedics,
Salute to you all. And
tow
thank
truck
you.
drivers, construction workers, engineers that were there to
Yeah.
inhaling all that stuff.
Yeah. Thank you all for your service. It's a thank you. I know it may not seem like a lot, but believe me, it's
Yes, sir.
appreciated.
Absolutely.
20 months on active duty. Though I was stationed here, I didn't get to go to San Diego. I didn't have to go to Kuwait. Though I was stationed here, I served with some of the finest people in the world, man. I served with some of the finest, most respectful people in the world, from every race, every color, and every nation and every religion you can name. I served side by side with them, man.
We
I'm
civilians, thank you for your service, bro. We civilians, thank you for your service, and I mean that.
Hey, man, I love my country, man.
Yes, sir.
It's my country. So I could talk about it when it's off, but I love and I love my country because I know what's on the other side.
That's right. It's like with your kids.
Yeah.
You can't talk about my kids. I can. You can't.
You can't. Woo, man. Get emotional talking
sir.
about 9/11 and veterans, man. But I know the hour is late, fam. We did have another topic we want to talk about tonight. I can't
believe it. It's almost 9.
We said it's almost 9. Thank you.
Well, let's talk about it until 9.
Absolutely. Yeah. Jamal, good to see you. Sister Phillips is out there. She said Eddie's not feeling well. We praying your recovery, bro.
Oh, amen.
That you feel better, man. We always appreciate you. And maybe next Monday we can get Miss Tina on, because I think it's an interesting conversation. We're going to start it tonight and pick it up next week. Marriage, is it ever 50-50?
No.
So it's interesting.
Top of my lungs, no.
It's interesting. And this is not all Black women saying this. I'm talking about a couple of women that I've seen on a podcast comparing American men to men from Africa, specifically Nigeria, saying that Nigerian men get what American men don't. There is no 50-50. Everything falls upon the husband. It's the man's job to do this. It's the man's job to pay the bill. And I'm like, have y'all been to Nigeria?
I wasn't even going in that direction.
Because I don't know who y'all talking about. And so I after a couple of comments, and I'm learning not to fuss with idiots on Facebook anymore. It's just a waste of time. And what I said to them is, there is no such thing as 50-50.
That's right.
And I said, and if you don't believe me, let you or your spouse get cancer.
Tell them what it is, Tone.
Let you or your spouse get into a car accident. Have children. Have multiple children. I said, have an elderly parent you've got to take care of. And you've got to decide who's going to do what during what time. And sleep don't come up nowhere in the conversation. And you got a full-time job.
That's facts.
I said, now let's talk about what marriage is, because you all are going off numbers. And I saw a lot of likes and a lot of loves coming up, because that's the real deal. The problem is you have single people trying to
say what a marriage is.
Trying to say what a marriage should be and what a husband or a wife should be doing, and you still single, and you gonna stay single because you not on the court.
It's 100. And Tone, that took my mind back to something that Dr. Brazier said one time.
Go ahead.
For us, it's 100, 100. Either you're all in or you're not in at all. You're all in or you're not in at all. But at any given time during the course of the marriage, you'll have these spans of time. And the way he articulated this was so apropos. It was so on point. There will be times when some of those things that you just mentioned will weigh heavily on the marriage, where one spouse is going to have to carry more of the load during this time. And then another time, the other spouse will have to carry more of the load during this time. But it's always 100, 100. It's just a spouse is carrying more of the load because of the momentary inability of that spouse to do whatever. Like this past weekend, I stayed home. I pretty much laid on my back because of my back. Guess who was running the house? My wife. And it's not the first time.
Period.
It's not the first time.
Period. And this is why it has to be a bigger conversation, and especially for Christian couples. I like what Tina said. She said Eddie has babies and a young wife, so he's still out there working the full time. She said spouse of a person who is often away due to work or substance abuse but still married. No 50-50 there either.
That's
Absolutely,
facts.
absolutely not. Those are facts. And this is the piece that going into marriage, I'm literally watching a video clip of this couple was in counseling before they got married. It's their wedding day. The pastor's doing the ceremony, and the wife would not say obey as part of the vow. She was like, "No, we can skip past."
I think I saw that.
Yeah, and so I'm feeling for this young dude because she hesitated also when they said for richer or for poor.
I think I saw that same clip.
And they're laughing at it, but
it's not funny.
It's not funny. And the danger is you're getting ready to say I do for something you're not even fully committed to. You're getting ready to say I do for something you're not fully committed to.
But it kind of goes back to something that we talked about ages ago in the course of this podcast, when this Americanized, secular, mainstream entertainment view of marriage, people have to be deprogrammed out of that, and they have to come into a biblical style or a biblical view of marriage, where either, again, you're all in, and yes, wife, you are called to submit to this husband, and husband, you are called to love and provide and protect this woman and your children. Yes. The same way that Christ does the church.
100.
And for that young lady at the altar, I can't imagine the shame.
I'm walking.
The embarrassment.
You should have walked, bruh.
I can't imagine that. And it's a joke to her.
Should have walked. You should have.
And I know the minister was kind of like, ooh, cringe moment.
Because he was like, we did discuss this. Like, he is literally at the pulpit or altar, or whatever it is, saying, no, we did discuss this in marriage counseling.
As the minister, he had the authority to say,
shut it down.
Hey, if you want to have a ceremony, you having it without me.
Yep. Period. People are not understanding the level of commitment that is required. And it's because we keep dealing with love and we're not dealing with covenant. That's the problem.
That's facts.
We keep dealing with a feeling and not a state.
That's facts.
But let something occur in your marriage, health-wise. People get laid off all the time, lose jobs, get downsourced, get fired. I get it. Who gonna be there and stand with you?
And we've been there.
I've been there.
My wife was right there, holding me down, holding us down.
Bro, the hardest time for a husband.
Yes, sir. Tell it.
For a husband to have to go to a public aid office. It broke me, bro.
Tell me.
I'm standing in line with my wife and my daughter carrying her to go to the public aid office. And they said, sorry, sir, you make too much money on unemployment to get any kind of public aid from us. You know how humiliating? And I'm seeing people in line, 4, 5 kids. Man. I'm like, I have worked in this system since 1987, paying into Social Security since 1987. I was 15 years old. And when I need support,
they showed you it was nothing but a Ponzi scheme.
It was nothing but a Ponzi scheme, man.
No money in there for you.
And
it's
God
rigged against us.
I got you, man.
Facts. Facts.
We still made it, man. God still covered, man. That was 2 occurrences. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, yes. I know very well what you're saying.
But when you have the right spouse, who may push you a little bit, like, hey, bro, I know you tired. I know you ain't feeling this, but you got to keep pushing, bro.
That's right.
You got to hold your head up, man. We ain't got time for no pity parties. I need you to go out there, black man, and make it happen like you gonna do. Just keep trying to keep pushing.
That's right.
I'm talking about looking for a job 8 hours a day for 7 straight months.
That's the job, looking for a job.
Over 400 rejections, bro. You hear me?
You got to tell me.
Ain't no 50-50, baby.
No.
No such thing.
There can't be.
Can't be. It's impossible.
If you're really going to do it the way it needs to be done. And, I think back to that young lady at the altar. And I think we have talked about this before. And it's like 9:01. I'll be brief.
Yep.
Marriage will reveal who and what you are. So if they exchange vows, I don't know if they did. I didn't see the whole clip. Yeah. But if they exchange vows,
I'm sure
that marriage is going to reveal everything that brother got a glimpse of at that altar.
Yeah.
When it gets tough, the Lord can move on people. He has moved on people, and he will continue to move on people. I don't know who they have in their lives, but
what do we say in Covenant Partners? It's the woman or it's the husband you chose. You don't get to complain now when you say I do.
That's right.
You got to trust the Lord to turn that marriage around.
That's right. Yeah, you got to make it work now. He said I do.
Hey, fam, it's 9:01. We sticking to our time frame. We appreciate y'all for hanging out with us, checking us out on tonight. Message Monday, Christian Men, Christian Walk, Christian Talk. And we always invite the ladies on. What did Miss Tina say?
Right.
Yep, Gary, vows make or break you. Absolutely.
That's
100%.
That's facts.
Fam, y'all have a blessed week. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord richly bless you. And may his grace shine upon each of you. Eddie, we praying for you, brother. Speedy recovery in Yeshua's name. Family, Message Monday. We out of here. Welcome to Message Monday. Christian Men, Christian Walk, Christian Talk with your hosts, Tony Briscoe and Gary Dotson. We discuss faith, marriage, family, parenting, politics, and mental health, world news, and most of all, faith again. Let's go. Welcome to Message Monday.